Welcome to another episode of Active Training with Ryan. In these instructional videos, I am going to show you how to enhance your instruction using ActivInspire. This video is about how to use the feature called Drag a Copy. Now, Drag a Copy allows teachers and designers to turn objects into unlimited amount of resources. Which means if I have a stack of resources in a pile, I can pull out as many as I want to without taking extra space on the file size. An example of this would be a picture of a penny here. Now this penny I want to use as a manipulative or a resource for students to count. Now I could click on the object and then from the marquee click on Duplicate. That's going to duplicate the object. That's a lot of clicking just to be able to pull out 6 or 7 pennies. So I have the ability then to turn this object into an unlimited amount of resources. The feature is called Drag a Copy. So to turn on Drag a Copy, using your Select tool, click on your object. From the third marquee button here, this one is called the Object Edit menu. At the very bottom of the resource, there is one called Drag a Copy. What happens now is that any time I click on the object and drag it out, I now have unlimited amounts of objects that the students can pull out so that I can show, understanding, or use as a virtual manipulative. To turn off Drag a Copy, either click on the object or do a right click. From the drop-down menu, uncheck Drag a Copy. And now the object is no longer a virtual manipulative. I want you to take a moment and I want you to try this yourself. Using your Shape tool, I want you to draw a shape on your screen, pick a size, pick a different color, different fill color, and draw a shape on your screen. Then using your Select tool, click on your object. From the marquee box, choose the third window that says Object Edit menu, and then select Drag a Copy. Now when you go to move the objects around, you have again unlimited amounts of objects that it'll pull out. To turn off the Drag a Copy, click on the object one time. From the Object Edit menu, uncheck Drag a Copy, and now the object is no longer going to be copied. I want you to take a moment now and try this for yourself. Now that you understand how to use Drag a Copy, here's how I use it with students. Now on this page here, I use this as a running presentation or an ongoing presentation for my students. In the morning when they come in, while I'm taking attendance and checking notes from parents and doing all the attendance routine items, I send a student to the board. Now, all my students have a copy of this presentation in front of them so they can fill out and follow along. The student who's in charge will come up to the board. Using the pen tool, they'll write the next number on the calendar. Then they'll click on the Select tool, and they'll drag out what is the day of the week. Now each one of these boxes here is set to Drag a Copy, so they can pull out as many as they need until they figure it out. So if they say today is Wednesday, they dragged Wednesday down. Tomorrow will be Thursday, which means yesterday was Tuesday. Then when I'm done at the end of the presentation, I go to File, I click Save, and now this presentation is saved. Then when I come to school again tomorrow, I open up this presentation, I choose a new student, they come up, write the next date on the calendar, and then they populate by changing the presentation. Yesterday was Wednesday, now today is Thursday, and tomorrow will be Friday. Now, I also have the option of just throwing these in the trash can at the end of the day, and any of those is fine. But what I want students to do, though, is to check their understanding. I want them to move and say, can they check to see where the answers were, to see if they've got it correct. Now, in this one, I use during math quite a bit. In the resource library, I found 3 pictures of base 10 blocks. So when students discover understanding or they're connecting to a strategy, and I want them to share their findings with the rest of the class, they use the manipulatives at their seats. When I want them to show their understanding, I bring them to the front of the room, and they show how they solved a problem. Now, each one of these is drag and copy, so all they do is they drag over as many base 10 blocks as they need to show how they problem solved or how they composed and decomposed numbers. When they're done, I just hit page reset, and then I can bring another student up and they can show their thinking and how they solved it. Now, this is a resource that I found inside the resource library. And Promethean, when they built this one, they set these all to 5 copies, that when you dragged out 5 of them, you ran out. So I modified the presentation where I started my numbers at 0. And I set these shapes right here that are going to conceal on a different layer. And I did the same thing with the highlighting layers. But I set each one of these to drag and copy. So let's think of layers 1, 2, and 3 for just a moment. The shapes that are highlighting the number, which are these down below, are on layer 1. Then I used my text tool and I put all the text on the page here, and that became layer 2. These shapes that conceal, I put on layer 3. So do you see how here it's covering up the number? When I move this one, it's going underneath the number so it looks like it's highlighting it. Now the cool part about ActivInspire's drag a copy, since these down here are highlighting and they're set to layer 1, when you drag it out, it also drags them out on the same layer. So I can pull out as many of these as I need to show understanding, to show conceptualization, to show patterning. When I drag these out, I can do the same thing. I can hide and conceal so students have to problem solve and figure out. And then again, when I'm done, you just hit page reset and it sets it back to the way it was. Now on this presentation here, I have all of these digits set to drag a copy. So I'm going to play a game with my students called 4 Strikes, You're Out. The students have to figure out, well, what digits are hidden in the expression here. So let's say one of them guesses there's a 5. Now I also have these set to an action that when you click on them, they disappear. And I'll show that in a later presentation. So when I click up here on where I think the answer is, yep, there's a 5 there. Now let's say a student says an answer or a digit not in the puzzle. So let's say they think there's an 8. Actually, there is no 8 in this number model here, so I'm going to click on the 8 so they know not to guess it again. That's strike 1. Let's try again. How about the digit 4? Nope, there is no digit 4. How about the digit number 6? Actually, there is a 6. That kind of gives me some information here that there also has to be a digit 1. So if I click over here and take a guess, yep, there's a 1 there. There's actually a 1 here as well. I'm going to guess another one here. How about the number, is there a digit 2? There is no digit 2, so I'm going to click on number 2. And I have actually 3 strikes as I got 3 numbers wrong. The students might, it just gives them a chance to guess. So I'm going to throw these numbers away for just a moment. And we're going to build one of these together. Now what I'm going to do is that these numbers are still here. When I click on them, they return. But each one of these numbers here is set to drag a copy. So when I want to build an expression, I just click and drag it up. And I can drag out as many of these numbers as I want to because each number is set to drag a copy. The cool part about drag a copy is it duplicates and drags everything about it. Because when I clicked on these numbers, do you see how they disappear? So that means when I click on these numbers, they also will disappear or reappear by clicking on them. So drag a copy not only duplicates the object, it also duplicates the properties and actions that are also included. In a later presentation, I'll show you how I used a property to make the number here appear and disappear. Now in this presentation, which I use with students, this is a base 10 mat here, or a tens frame. I want students to figure out and show me their understanding when composing the numbers. So I may ask my students, well, what is 3 add 3? One student may say, well, the answer is 6. And I'll ask them, well, is there another way to show the number 6? One student may say, well, 2 add 4 is 6. Or 1 add 5 is 6. Or 2 add 2 is 6. 2 add 2 add 2 is 6. They may use 3 add-ins here. This shape down here is set to drag a copy. But I also have an action here is that when you click on it, it changes colors. So if I want to show decomposing of numbers or subtractions, I can drag these out. But because these objects change colors when I drag them out, drag a copy also duplicates the action here. Same thing with a double tens frame. These are all set to drag a copy so students can show their understanding and show how they figured it out. So the neat part about drag a copy is it creates a virtual manipulative that students can show and represent their findings and understanding. Now here's a fun one here, where students have to figure out the different weights of objects. Let's see if you can figure out what is the weight of an orange. I'm sure you guessed it was 7. Because if you look on this weight right here, there are 2 oranges and 1 banana. But on this one, there are 2 oranges and 2 bananas. So if I add a banana over here, that'd be 3 more. So if I subtract the banana off here, that would give me the number 14. Divide that by 2 and you get the number 7. Now let's see if we can figure out the weight of the apple. But I want students to figure out or make up their own. So these 3 objects down here, I created in clipart in Microsoft Word. But when I brought them in, each one of these pictures is set to drag a copy. So I can create my own patterning, I can create my own weights of fruit, and students can create their own too, and they can show their understanding and representations as well. Now this is another example here where students are going to show the temperature in the thermometer. I make them go outside, they measure the thermometer, and they come and they record what it is. Now where I'm from, currently outside, it is 98 degrees outside. So I'm going to click on the pen tool. I'm going to click on my color. The temperature today is 98 degrees Fahrenheit. Using the select tool, they're going to show me what is the temperature of 98 on the thermometer here. It's in the orange, which means it is hot outside today. Each one of these colors down here is set to drag a copy. So while the students are at the board measuring and putting in their temperatures, the students at their seats then are graphing the colors of what the day is and looking for patterns. Another example here is I have base 10 blocks that students, when they pull them out, they can show their understanding. But each one of these, though, is set to drag a copy. But the cool part about this one, when I drag them out, if I click on the object and then I click on ungroup, I can actually decompose the number. What's happening here is that these objects are actually grouped together. But drag a copy also duplicates everything about the objects, including objects that are grouped together. So now I can ungroup, and I can show how students compose and decompose the numbers by using actual virtual manipulatives. That just makes it a really cool presentation for the students to work with. Now here's another fun one here. On this one, students have to guess what are the missing letters here. And actually, I found these tiles and created them using drag a copy. Down here at the bottom of the screen, there's going to be tiles and letters. We just can't see it right now. And I'm going to show you how to get to these later. But the tiles are set to drag a copy, so when I drag the tiles up, it creates a puzzle. Another example here, we're going to play Hangman. I'm going to build a puzzle. Pull down the letters here. Again, each one of these tiles and puzzles is set to drag a copy. I'm just going to spell the word drag a copy. Now the cool part about this too, imagine having your students creating their own puzzles. You could create hangman puzzles, or what we call our world, snowman puzzles, for just about anything. Vocabulary, spelling, parts of speech, definitions. We use it for new students when they enter school. Lots of varieties here. So when I click on the tiles here, do you see how it makes them remove, but it gives me a layer to show how many pieces of tiles or letters are in my puzzle. So when a student goes and guesses a letter, if they get it correct, you just click on where it is. If they get one that's incorrect, you click on it up above. The neat trick here is watch the snowman melt. In a later presentation, I'll show you how I was able to take pictures and make objects change so something like this happens. But in this presentation, all of the things you've seen so far are used to drag a copy. I want you to take a moment again, put an object or a shape or a text on the board, and I want you to use drag a copy yourself.